Welcome to TRN Podcast, episode 138. Today we're taking a closer look at a really critical moment in environmental history, and importantly, what its potential future implications might be for you.
Exactly. We've got two sources here that shed light on the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. It happened 15 years ago, this Sunday, actually. And they also touch upon concerns being raised about current environmental policies.
Right, so our aim today is to really distill the key lessons and perhaps warnings from these texts. We want to help understand why this anniversary is so significant and what the potential risks might be moving forward.
We have an opinion piece by Terry Garcia. He has firsthand experience with both the Exxon Valdez and Deepwater Horizon spills, which is quite something.
Oh, yeah.
And the other is a news report looking back from the anniversary in 2025 at the Deepwater Horizon disaster, featuring reflections from Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser.
Okay, so let's kick off with the Deepwater Horizon disaster itself. The news report mentions it began on April 20th, 2010. What were the immediate consequences? What happened right away?
Well, the report details a truly catastrophic explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil platform off the Louisiana coast. Tragically, 11 people were killed and another 17 were injured.
Just terrible.
Beyond that awful human cost, the environmental damage was, well, immense. The article states 4.9 million barrels of oil were spewed into the Gulf of Mexico over 87 days.
87 days. That's nearly 3 months.
It's considered the largest marine oil spill in the history of the petroleum industry, a major, major environmental disaster.
And Terry Garcia's piece, it emphasizes that scale too, right? He mentions over, 3 million barrels of oil polluting 1,300 miles of coastline, from Louisiana all the way to Florida.
That's right. And he really highlights the devastation to ecosystems, plus the billions in economic losses.
When you look at those initial descriptions, what really stands out? The numbers are slightly different, but the scale?
Yeah, what's striking is how both sources, despite slight variations in the figures, they just underscore the sheer, unbelievable magnitude of the spill. Garcia also brings in that human element very strongly, how livelihoods, people depending on the sea, were threatened. And that's a point Lieutenant Governor Nungesser echoes, too.
Right, Nungesser. He was president of Plaquemines Parish back then. He remembers not just the disaster, but the response. He describes it as chaotic. He talks about fighting BP, fighting consultants, and feeling there was a real lack of leadership on the ground. He even gives examples where, efforts by locals to help were seemingly hampered by bureaucracy.
Like what?
Like the Coast Guard checking boat registrations instead of immediately helping with rescue efforts. That's one thing he mentioned.
Wow. That really raises a big question about preparedness, doesn't it? And the actual response protocols in these massive disasters. Nungesser's frustration with the coordination, the obstacles faced by people just trying to help, that's a critical takeaway.
And Garcia's experience being on that national commission on the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill likely gave him deep insights into those systemic issues, I imagine.
Almost certainly. He saw it from the inside, after the fact.
So moving to Garcia's perspective now. Yeah. He draws a direct line, a very clear one, between the lessons learned from Deepwater Horizon and what he sees as a dangerous trend today.
What kind of trend?
He specifically mentions plans under the Trump administration to weaken offshore drilling safety measures that were put in place after the 2010 disaster. Things like potentially reversing the ban on drilling in sensitive areas like the Arctic and closing regional oil spill response offices.
Okay, so rolling back protections implemented precisely because of Deepwater Horizon.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture Garcia paints, he argues that these actions, along with cuts he observed to science, environmental, and safety agencies, and the rollback of environmental regulations, it all represents a rejection of hard-won knowledge.
He gets specific, doesn't he? I recall reading about dismantling programs, personnel cuts at NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where he used to work, in weakening EPA health and safety regulations.
Yes, all of that. Garcia claims this isn't about government efficiency or boosting the economy. He calls it an outright assault on science that he believes will leave the country vulnerable to future disasters.
An assault on science. Strong words.
Very. He specifically brings up the lack of basic ocean data during the initial Deepwater Horizon response, how that hampered things, and then how subsequent government-supported science led to crucial advancements, better cleanup tech, better policy understanding.
Right.
And he warns that cutting that funding now jeopardizes future innovation and our ability to respond next time.
You know, Garcia's insider perspective is what makes this so compelling. Having held high-level positions in relevant agencies, having witnessed the aftermath of major spills, his warning about ignoring science and dismantling regulations carries real weight. He frames it as shifting the risk onto communities, onto ordinary people. He details the long-term devastation livelihoods, economies, health seen after Deepwater Horizon. And he makes the point that the cleanup costs ended up being vastly more than preventative measures would have cost in the first place.
So the argument is that weakening standards might seem cheaper up front, but could be far more expensive down the road.
That's precisely his warning. The cost of ignoring the lessons is too high.
And it seems both Garcia and Nungesser, though from different angles, are urging us not to forget Deepwater Horizon. Nungesser just hopes we don't have to relive it.
Understandable given his experience on the ground.
While Garcia is explicitly calling for commitment to strong environmental and safety regulations, rigorous science, adequate funding, all to prevent future catastrophes. He concludes pretty bluntly, the price of ignoring science and dismantling regulations is just far too high.
So, boiling this down, what does it all mean for someone listening today? These sources highlight not just the devastating impact of a major environmental disaster, but also the absolutely critical role of strong regulations and solid scientific understanding, both for preventing crises and for responding effectively when they do inevitably occur.
Yeah, and the contrast between Nungesser's on-the-ground, immediate aftermath perspective and Garcia's broader policy and science view really shows you need both, right? You need that comprehensive approach.
Absolutely. You need the local knowledge and the national oversight working together.
So these concerns being raised now, 15 years after Deepwater Horizon, but potentially weakening those very safeguards.
Yeah.
They really serve as a potent reminder, don't they, that the lessons of the past have to be actively remembered and applied if we want to protect our future.
It certainly seems that way based on these accounts.
It leaves us with a question, I think. What responsibility do we all have to make sure these hard-learned lessons aren't forgotten? And what role can informed citizens play in, advocating for robust environmental protections? Something to think about.